Guru Nation, thank you so much for watching. Make sure you like, subscribe, comment, share. Really means a lot to me. Look, right now it's April 2024. There is, not at the site level so much. Sites are busy, but there's layoffs at the CRO and sponsor level. My inboxes are trickling in with messages, people, CRA2s that got laid off. I'm actually interviewing one later today, so subscribe to my YouTube channel, follow my LinkedIn, all that stuff to not miss out. We're going to try to work through this to find strategies for you guys, but another message the other day. Hey, I just watched your video with Jen, who is a project manager. Some of the layoffs going on at Icon and the rest of the industry, and how eventually the companies are going to need to hire these roles back. I do think so, but in the meantime, what they're doing, what these CROs are doing, is most entry level, and this is what this person's telling me too, but I actually did a video, I'd sit down podcast with someone last year who's a project manager. We recorded the whole thing, and then she didn't feel comfortable for me to upload it, but she's basically talking about project manager roles being outsourced overseas. And then this person's basically confirming, anecdotally, hey, from what I've seen, most entry-level project management roles are being hired in India, Mexico, and some other low-cost countries like Eastern Europe. I've had my eye on one entry-level project management role for the last year. All the major CROs are doing this. Syneos laid off project specialist. Icon laid off a bunch of CTAs, which are clinical trial administrators, I believe, or clinical trial assistants. I actually just started at this other CRO last week, and there were about 10 new CTAs on the new employee call that were in Mexico City. Fortrea and IQVIA haven't posted any CTAs, so I think that's clinical trial administrator or assistant, project specialist, project coordinator, project management assistant for a while. It's been interesting to see how this will affect the PM roles in a few years. So if you're in the situation, right, what can you do? Again, I'm going to sound like a broken record, but networking, I do believe these jobs are coming back. If you look at the quarterly calls for these CROs, they are coming off of record level highs as far as share price and profits. They have tried to outsource in the past. If you remember, and now some of these things are permanent, like the financial analyst and the people helping. I noticed just from Yuma Clinical Trials on some of my studies, the people that I contact for help, hey, can you follow up on my invoice? Here's my invoice. That has been outsourced overseas, and that has remained. But those are roles where the site doesn't really communicate too frequently and too often. And when we do, it's very simple. Like, we almost speak in numbers. Hey, where's my invoice? Here's the thing. Oh, please revise your invoice because you did this one wrong. Send it back. When it comes to project management, assistant, CTA, you are talking about documents, getting essential documents in place. You are talking about timelines. There's some study startup stuff, but then there are study startup specialists. I know Mexico City has been growing for a while, and the value of Mexico City, what makes it attractive, I just came from there a few months ago. Same time zone as the US. So you don't have the time issue. But then I've interviewed people in project management roles from Europe and India, and they say, hey, the time zone issue doesn't matter. We just work nights so that when the US is awake, we're awake. This is clearly a strategy that the CROs are doing to cut costs. This is their reaction to the overhiring right after COVID while maintaining their business operations. I personally don't think it lasts. I think a lot of these roles are gonna come back, but it is the risk of globalization. It is the risk of, the infrastructure has been set. All these CROs are multinational now. The infrastructure has been set for quite some time for a moment like this. Will it last forever? I don't know. As a site, do I care if the person who I'm dealing with for my invoice is in another country? No, I actually don't. Do I care if my study startup specialist is in another country? Maybe I care a little more, but ultimately, no. Do I care if my CRA is in another country? That's where we draw the line, because obviously sites prefer monitors to come in person, and that's just not feasible logistically. But all these support roles, we've been saying it on this channel. The other countries, Latin America, Eastern Europe, we've featured these people on the show. Very competent, very capable, very educated, not entitled. I mean, the writing has been on the wall, and I've been talking about networking. I've been talking about if you are in one of those positions, to figure out how to get into another role, either laterally, like something in operations like a CRA or a study startup specialist or a trial master file specialist, or in a leadership role at the CRO, to where like site relations, something that can't be outsourced. And this is just a clear signal to all of you guys that you're relying on these CROs to take care of you. And a lot of you guys didn't want to go start your own business or go consulting or go contractor route because you thought, no, the CROs, they're stable, they're going to take care of me. The first opportunity they get, as long as it doesn't impact their bottom line and the sponsors don't care and the sites don't care, they're going to make that cost, because it's 10x the cost from Mexico City to have a project management assistant than in the US, right? And the ones in those countries, in those developing nations, they're hungrier, let's face it. So this is actually an opportunity for those of us in the US who are in positions that are at risk of getting outsourced. You need to focus on networking. This is why Save Our Sites is important. It's not just for sites. We had people from CRO sponsors, individuals. This is why contracting is important. This is why becoming a generalist is important, not a specialist. It's okay to get your role and stay in that role, but you gotta learn things outside of your role. Doesn't hurt to be a CRA. Doesn't hurt maybe to go back to a site and be a coordinator. Doesn't hurt to help sites out with quality assurance. I'm interviewing someone later today who is a CRA too that got laid off. Now, the CRAs are not getting laid off because of outsourcing overseas. The CRAs are getting laid off because they hired too many. So it's important to draw the distinction between the two. But the support roles, the roles that are, hey, this is project management assistant, this is like not too much contact with the sites, but there is some contact, but we're really supporting the CRAs. Those support roles are being outsourced. And if you're in one of these roles, it's time to move to a sponsor and take this as a signal. I know the sponsors are not hiring either, but it looks like the biotech market is starting to turn. A couple of biotechs I follow just got drug approvals. The money's starting to flow back into the biotechs. The biotechs have been on a dry spell for like the last 5 years. I think the pain lasts the rest of the year, but I think the biotechs are coming back. You need to figure out ways to get into the biotech role to where you are at the sponsor level, where you're going to be in charge of whatever CRO they hire, because the sponsors still have project managers, TMF, QA, leads, clinical trial management. They still have that. That's still important for them. And a lot of these sponsors are actually saying, you know what? We can do this ourselves. We don't need a CRO. So take this as a signal. All these support roles are at risk, especially project management stuff. Let me know in the comments what you're thinking of doing. Obviously, I don't have all the solutions, but I'm trying to bring you like the latest of what's going on. and let me know what you think. Now is the time. If you're going through this, when the adversity comes, that's when the opportunity occurs, because the enemy of great is good enough. And a lot of you guys got comfortable in your roles, and you didn't enhance your skills. You didn't maybe push yourself for your stretch goals, because good enough. I'm good enough. Well, now, what are you going to do? Now you have no choice. So you have to go out and be great. And this is what the channel is all about. Like, subscribe, comment, share. Let me know what you're thinking. Let me know what situation you're in. And I'll see if I can strategize for you or even get you on the podcast like I am later today. Bye-bye.